going to case, and then an overview. No, what? No, okay. An overview on why you vote affirmative, and then case, and then to the critique. There are 3 reasons why you vote affirmative. First of all, you vote on the case. We've been extending the reasons to vote in our framework throughout the round. You need to prefer it for education and fairness, because being able to weigh the impacts of policy against a critique is key to debate, because if we couldn't weigh our impacts, then the critique would win every time. And even if you don't buy this, we win our framework because their framework is that you should vote on whoever increases the most education on how to actually solve for the oppression of people within the round. And we win this, but more on that when I get to case. Secondly, you vote on the critique, which we win because we've answered the policymaking and role-playing good, which they dropped, which means that policymaking and role-playing is good. And the only offense they've left on the critique is, first of all, the alt, which does literally nothing on the perm solves better, but more bad on the perm. And that the state is bad, but they have no evidence to support this. And extend Grossberg 92 and move 09. The state is actually key to get any change done. And the only way that they're ever going to be able to solve for oppression is by using the state, which they don't do. And they have conceded that they don't use the state, which means that you have to vote on the case of the permutation. Or 3, you vote on the permutation. The perm is key because it solves for the entire critique and the in-round impact of warming. So it solves for actually more oppression because of our Goldman 11 card that talks about how people that are living in more impoverished areas and people who are actually oppressed are more affected by warming than people who are living areas of privilege. And the perm is the best option because it gives people the right to choose if they want to use the state to solve for their oppression, or if they want to use their own means and the means of the alternative. So you have to vote on the permutation. Moving on to case. First of all, natural gases keep stop warming. That's Bryce 717. And even if natural gas doesn't solve, we are prerequisite to renewables. That's Hill 428. The plan also triggers cooperation with other countries. That's Riley 12. Insurance to solve for warming globally. Warming affects minority populations the most. That's Goldman 11. And warming causes multiple scenarios for extinction. Roberts 13. We have been extending our reasons on why you vote on the case throughout the entire round. First of all, they say that we didn't answer the double bind. They're not being able to perm off of narratives. But first of all, we aren't perming off of any of their narratives. We're only perming off of the alternatives. So this argument doesn't make sense. You need to disregard it when you make your decision. And also you need to group their arguments about how they are intersectional and have the best method together. The perm solves this better than the alternative because they actually don't have the best method to solve for anything. They conceded in their last speech that they haven't found any solutions and therefore have no method to actually solve for their impacts. And the permutation solves this because it uses the state and it to solve for oppression of people, like through especially through the Goldman 11 card, which I've already talked about in the overview. Moving on to line by line on the case. First of all, on framework, case that weighs in terms of critique. First of all, on framework, you need to extend our framework that we should be allowed to weigh the impacts of the case against the critique, and we win because of this, and the fact that our extinction impacts and our impact of having people be oppressed under global warming